evening and thank you for joining us here on this edition of the Urban Debate. With nearly 36,000 fresh COVID cases, India's COVID worry, viewers, is far from over. In fact, it is increasing and intensifying by the day. And amidst the rise in cases, there is now a growing chorus on the need to open up the vaccination for everyone. Delhi and Punjab have urged the central government to allow vaccination for all age groups in order to contain the spread quickly. Meanwhile, just to give you a sense of how more and more states are now recognizing this is a growing problem. 5 big states, Maharashtra, Delhi, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh, held emergency meetings today. Several of the state chief ministers actually led these meetings and the states went into a huddle to discuss the COVID strategy. Tonight I want to talk about what is it that we need and when can we open up vaccination for everybody? Why are we waiting? What is it that is required? Why can't we vaccinate everyone or at least give the option to those who want? And I'll tell you why we are saying this and why we are going to have this conversation. There is no denying the fact, viewers, that the second COVID wave has hit our country. Now, within the states, there may have been multiple ups and downs and falls and peaks in cases, but largely the kind of high number of cases we were seeing 6 months ago is what is being witnessed in many parts of the country now. The problem isn't just restricted to Maharashtra or Kerala. Number 2, despite the fact that repeatedly people are being asked to follow COVID norms and COVID protocols, there is absolute lack of interest in doing so, which means the infection spreads easily and spreads faster. Interstate travel, intercity, intrastate, across the country, the travel continues, which means that this will not be a problem for just one state or one district. And then we have 5 states going into elections. These poll-bound states are witnessing events with massive crowds, rallies with massive crowds, across party lines, across the states if you see, from Bengal to Tamil Nadu. Nobody there is wearing a mask. Social distancing is a joke. And of course, one of the most important aspects is that we cannot afford a lockdown that cripples the economy. The governments cannot now fall back on that option and say, oh, cases are rising, we shut down everything. We cannot go back and lock ourselves up in our homes anymore. And why not open vaccination for all? We're clearly exporting. We're exporting, in fact, viewers, more than the number of doses that we've administered in our own country. And while I'm extremely proud of our vaccine diplomacy, what I also want to see is our own country battle this challenge better and faster. So we've managed to export about 5.8 crore doses. We've managed to administer 3.48 crore doses in our own country. While we are all extremely proud and understand the value of vaccine maitri, our diplomacy that we are using across the world in helping other nations out, and we should do that, and some commercial agreements, of course, that clearly indicates that we have the doses. So then what's the hurdle? Why can't we change our policy to step up vaccination? And if it is not vaccination for all right away, are there other options? Let's talk about that. Our phone lines are also going to open up. I want you also to call us and tell us what you believe should be done. Is India ready? Are more people just waiting on the sidelines for their turn who would have queued up tomorrow itself if they had the opportunity to get the vaccine? Let's say good evening to Dr. Naresh Trehan, Chairman and MD for Medanta, joining us this evening. Dr. Rakesh Mishra, Director for the Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, CCMB, joins us this evening. Abantika Ghosh, Senior Associate Editor with The Print, and Divya Rajgopalan, Senior Assistant Editor at The Economic Times, and covers the health segment exhaustively, joins us this evening. I want to start off with our experts first, and Dr. Naresh Trehan. What possibly could be our options to step up? Open it for everyone or do it in a more targeted manner where we look at cities and states where cases are getting out of control?
So it's a two-step process. First of all, we must try to contain it because we know the areas where it is actually rising at a very rapid pace. We need to put all our resources in tracing and isolation. We traced and locked down just the areas where we can contain it today. That's one effort. The other effort is to try to vaccinate as many people as possible to try to move towards that herd immunity that we talk about. You've rightfully said that we cannot afford a nationwide second wave. We will have a major problem. You know, we are just barely recovering from the last state that 1 year that we have gone through. So I think vaccine is the answer as the other arm. And my understanding is that today, with the two vaccines that we have, and I would state that they're equally good, that 7 crore doses are available today. It's very possible that the third vaccine, which is Sputnik, is going to get approved because the data looks favorable as is told so far. It is being assessed by the regulators right now. If that becomes available, that will add another couple of crores. So we have plenty of vaccine. I think also there are enough facilities available to administer that vaccine. So I think I'll give you the example. What is happening today? That you have capacity. There are centers that can vaccinate up to 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 people, but not enough people are turning up. And that, whether it is hesitancy or whether it is the fact that we have moved through the large vulnerable population, that because we have reached 3.5 crores right now and counting, that we have the opportunity to step up, we go to the next step. The next step was maybe 40 and above without comorbidities. And then the next would be, you say, go up to 18 and above, and with or without comorbidities, doesn't matter, the whole country is open for vaccination. I think we'll have to get there. And whatever we do to arrange the doses is very important. Now, there are other things that we can do that other countries have done. UK has done. UK has said, okay, maybe the second dose I will delay, but at least a lot of immunity will be developed with the first dose, especially to those people who have already suffered a COVID infection. We are finding that when they get the first dose, their antibodies, neutralizing antibodies, go very high. That means their protection starts from the day they get the first dose to the people who have already had antibodies. In our own healthcare workers, we found 45+% had already developed antibodies. And when we gave them the first dose, their numbers went up into hundreds and even 1,000 and above. So I think that we need to tweak our strategy, try to cover as many people as possible, try to get as many vaccine shots as we can from the 2 that we already have, and also the third one, which is on the anvil. And I think that will help us. If we can go up to 50, 60 lakhs a day, which is we are fully capable of doing. Our facility, all the hospitals are capable of doing it. Everything else is available. Let's concentrate on getting the vaccine out and getting as many people vaccinated as possible starting now.
Absolutely. Starting now being the operative part. And Dr. Rakesh Mishra, if you could come in on this as well. The fact is that, even if we now open it up to more people, it's going to take us at least 6 weeks to protect these people, for the vaccines to kick in from the day you take your first shot, it will take at least 6 to 7 weeks for the impact to begin. So even then, we are looking at a long-term cycle. What's your view?
Yeah, see, this surge is not to be handled by vaccine. But this vaccine will be effective after 30, 40 days from the start of it, unless the person has some immunity because of prior infection or something of that kind. So what we are talking about is the social vaccine that must be in the place, as Dr. Chen correctly emphasized, that is our baseline. If not doing that, even the vaccine will not be much use, because for 2-3 weeks vaccine, even the first dose, some effect, it will take that kind of time to come. So the social vaccine, which is mask and social distancing and personal hygiene, is the baseline today. Not doing that is doing disservice to the society. It should be categorized that way. And taking vaccine is our social responsibility, because this is not a disease that you are fighting for yourself. It is a collective social fight that we are giving. Infection may pass through you without your knowledge, without knowing, but it goes to somebody who then suffers and leads to severe consequences. So this should be taken as a really as a social responsibility for all of us. Start vaccine. If we delay vaccine, then these vaccine may have less or compromised effect. As soon as we can, as many numbers is the best way. We are seeing some cases, in some places, cases rising, but still these numbers are much less than what it was there before. It's much better that we had 6 months back. At this time, if we hit the virus with the vaccine, which is an extraordinary opportunity that we have, I don't think I was even thinking that 6 months back that we will have vaccine so soon. So thanks to the industry, thanks to the scientists, thanks to the regulatory bodies for providing this exceptional tool for us to fight against this pandemic. So that should be given to as many people as possible, as fast. We can decide 40 plus with morbidity, comorbidity. Other argument, maybe those people who are going out more, they are more susceptible to transmit here, there. There are many rationales in that. But since, as you just heard, if there is another vaccine, just open it. And I think the government was trying to figure out how it is going to go out, if there is any, after all, these are emergency approvals. But after 3 crore and all, I think we are now sure that it is absolutely safe, and then we should go full blow and try to vaccinate as many people as possible, 18 plus for which is allowed. And we should not hold anything back, whether it's going home and vaccinating, going mohalla and vaccinating, vaccinating 4 hours. If you have vaccine, if there are people, and it's not a very high-tech thing, it's safe now, so you don't have to wait and all those kinds of things, half an hour in a clinic and all. So we can relax those things and achieve 30 crore or something in maybe a couple of months. That should be the target. And then we will be able to have upper hand on this pandemic. Otherwise, second lockdown will be a bigger killer than the pandemic itself. I think we should all try and avoid that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like you said, and I want to come to that aspect of how we can, step it up in terms of infrastructure. So let's break it down. First part is the availability of doses, then is the availability of the infrastructure, and what it is that we are looking at. Divya, because this case has reached the court, we now know that at least the manufacturers have told the court that they have the capacity, Serum has the capacity to manufacture about 60 to 65 million doses per month, and they can step it up. And Bharat Biotech is also in the process of stepping it up. So roughly this number that we have about 7 crore doses and can add more, does that, add up for you?
Absolutely, Tanvi. I think the availability of doses, luckily for India, is not an issue. If you look at countries like, other countries across the world who are struggling to get doses, India is not in that situation. In fact, our situation is pretty much like US, which has cornered most of the doses for its own people, and it's even planning to now open it up for all citizens by May. Now, when we talk about categorization, or when we talk about opening up vaccines for everyone, I think one important part that we have to understand is that if you don't want to open up for all people who might not be at high risk, let's open it up for those who are extremely at high risk. For example, if you look at UK and US, they have an occupational based vaccine criteria. So open it up for those people who have to get to work and who are at most high risk in terms of contacting the disease. So what essentially we are trying to do is open up the category of frontline workers. Put your railway staff on the vaccination line, your aviation staff, because these are the people who come in contact with people day in and day out. Delivery boys, these are the people who have a public facing job and have to get to work. They're not privileged enough to work from home. So I think it's very important that we kind of keep this in mind, that we open at least the category of frontline workers, and all those people who are at a public facing job should be allowed to get vaccination, if not everyone, let's say, or all the adults. So this is something which I think the government has to think. Maybe if it's hesitant to open it up for all adults, it needs to expand the category of who the frontline workers are, and open up for those people who are most at high risk or most have to get to work or cannot work from home. So I think that's a very important distinction that we need to make here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's another way of looking at it, and stepping up on the vaccination program to identify more categories and at least allow them to get the shot. Abantika Ghosh, do you agree largely that as far as the availability of doses is concerned, that is not really a problem? We perhaps just need to relook at this step 1, step 2, step 3 and the timelines that we fixed 3 months ago and don't seem to be moving away from now.
Right. It's not so much the vaccine availability as, a simple thing. Even at a time when the vaccination pace was being criticized, the Ministry of Health actually sent out a message this Sunday saying that we are not giving out vaccination data today because states don't vaccinate on Sundays. So I think those sorts of breaks we cannot afford to take right now. And just to add to what Divya was saying, when we announced lockdown, there were several categories of people who we had designated as essential workers who need to go out. I think a good way would be to just start backwards and include them in the frontline workers as well, because those are the people. And in fact, officials in the Ministry of Health who are going to containment zones, they should be vaccinated. Why not? Because these are people who have had maximum risk. Some of them have tested positive. They have traveled a lot. But just to stick to a very stringent definition of frontline workers and insisting on just armed forces, people in uniform, that's all right. I mean, you don't want clusters happening there. But I mean, I agree, we really need to expand. And I think we should look at the essential workers list that we had given out right at the start of the lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely. One interesting thing, like you said, that even now there are certain time bands and days when we don't hold vaccination drives. Now, the center says we've left it to the states. The states can do it 24/7 if they want. But that's something that the Mumbai Civic Body even announced at one point, saying we are going to start off 24/7 vaccination. Obviously, at some point, reality set in and they said, oh, wait, we can't because we don't have that kind of a support staff, healthcare staff, infrastructure available. Because and keep in mind, viewers, that you're looking at a healthcare infrastructure that's already stretched, overburdened and tired with the battle that they fought for the last 1 year. Nevertheless, there are still many hospitals, many clinics, centers that haven't been roped in, that can be roped in. A large part of our vaccination drive is still about the big cities. So, Divya, in your own conversations and interactions, what is it that you perceive as the government's biggest hurdle? The decision makers and the policy makers, why are they not reacting to this right now?
It's very important right now at this stage, and what I hear from interaction with especially the BMC officials and all is that they're too restricted in terms of taking decision on their own. So most of the decision and most of the directions is coming from central government, and this is something which the Maharashtra government has complained time and over. Even other states such as Punjab have asked for decentralizing the whole vaccination drive. So at this point of time, it's very important that the central government gives in more autonomy to state governments on how they want to conduct the vaccination drive. Because I think that's where the issue is in terms of if they want to expand the number of hospitals, if they want to include new hospitals, at least the state government have that control to do it. Also to decide who they want to vaccinate. These are the criteria which is getting a bit too controlled by the center. And it's time right now to decentralize the whole health aspect of the vaccination part of it, to get better efficiency in this whole drive. Because I mean, we're talking about absolute numbers. We have done 3 crores and so on and so forth, but is it targeted enough? Is it showing efficacy, or is it showing effectiveness? We don't know. And especially with the number of cases going up in cities like Bombay and Maharashtra, it's high time that more autonomy is given to state governments on how they want to conduct the vaccination. This is something which I hear from most state officials, is that they feel they're too restricted in terms of how they want to conduct vaccination because of the control by the central government.
Okay, interesting, because on the other hand, the central government says, well, we've given it up to the states now. It's up to them to increase the number of vaccination centers, up to them to decide on the timings. The only restriction that some of the states now say is, oh, maybe we don't have enough doses. For example, Maharashtra is now doing 2.5 to 3 lakh vaccinations every day. So they are looking at their stock and saying we will probably be done with this stock in 10 more days. So now we've made the demand for the next lot of doses to come in, and as that comes in, then perhaps they will feel more confident in stepping it up. Dr. Trehan, let's talk about the infrastructure part. So on the doses, we know, and everybody largely agrees, availability of the vaccine is not a problem. So now let's talk about taking it to the people. Where would the hurdle be? Is it that we still haven't roped in private infrastructure that much, or that when it comes to the government machineries, they are moving too slowly at the local level?
So I can talk about from Medanta experience that we are from Monday starting 24/7 every day of the week. So we will be open, and I think other institutions will also provide that. So there is, I don't think there is capacity constraint in metros and A cities. Now, 2-tier, 3-tier cities are also, I think, geared up now. Our biggest problem is going to come how to get it out of these cities into the rural area. Because of the criteria that we had, that you must have a hospital and emergency services if somebody has a reaction, which is also correct. But we have experienced in this 3.5 crore people that there have really not been any serious adverse events. So as long as we have some backup arrangement available by way of ACLS ambulances in the region, which can reach the place of vaccination in 5 to 10 minutes, and the hospital that in case this, God forbid it happens, but if it happens, that they can be taken to a appropriate center in the next 10-15 minutes, because each vaccination center has the emergency kit that has been prescribed. So any reaction, whether all the emergency medicines and devices that are required to make the person safe are already in that kit. So I think that we are very well geared up. I think that we can move much more rapidly. And as I said, those 7 crore doses we must consume every month. And hopefully they will go up to 10 crores in the next couple of weeks. So we should not wait. If we have to extend the gap between the first and second dose, 6 weeks, 8 weeks between 2 doses is not a detriment. It may be desirable even, because some of the other countries are saying that maybe the results are better. We don't know that. This is all guesswork. But the point is, we must get as many people vaccinated as possible, as fast as possible, because the second wave, people don't belittle it. The maximum peak we had in the first wave, which was quite scary and took a huge toll on our country, was close to 1 lakh a day. We have already reached over 50,000.
Yes.
So it's not a joke anymore. 10 days ago, it was okay, maybe it's 10, 12,000. We were still playing with those figures. Today, it has hit us in the face. There's no going back. We must act immediately to contain, trace and contain, and also, like appropriately said by Dr. Mishra, the social aspect, the COVID appropriate behavior must be enforced. People are becoming careless. We must not allow them to be careless. Instead of giving tickets on the street for speeding or jumping a red light, you book everybody possible who's not following the appropriate behavior. If we enforce ourselves, we have enough people on the ground to enforce all this. We just need the will.
We don't have that, yes.
we will avoid a disaster for our country.
And
A wave goes through will take a toll, which I don't know when we'll recover from it.
And Dr. Trayan, allow me to tell you this. I have had a series of conversations over the last 10 days with various state representatives and leaders and even ministers. And there is some amount of hesitancy in taking that action. Governments, state governments, local administrations are resorting to symbolism and trying to send a tough message by saying, okay, night curfew, okay, weekend lockdown, rather than actually stepping up on penalizing the violators, rather than actually chalaning the person who's not wearing a mask, or fining the event organizer who promised 50 people but then hosted 500 people and arranged for food for 500 people. They're not doing that, and that's the last mile implementation is becoming a problem in that sense. Look at the state of Maharashtra right now. Maharashtra saw, and on a daily basis now we're seeing a single day highest peak in the last 6 months kind of statistics. What we saw in the period of August and even September, those are the kind of cases Maharashtra is looking at right now on an everyday basis. In Punjab, there is a different kind of concern. While the actual number of cases is far lower, the mortality rate is much higher. In fact, it's higher than what they saw in the first time around. And again, the Chief Minister's very detailed statement today only says, well, people are not coming out and getting themselves tested. They're reaching the hospitals too late. We're going to implement night curfews. We're going to extend the timings of the night curfews from 9 p.m. now to the morning. But I don't know if this will be enough. So the second aspect. Yes, Dr. Trayan.
Anvi, listen. We have allowed weddings to go on for hundreds, 200, 300 people. They are being held in Punjab also, right under the nose of all the officials. Hundreds of people who are coming out of these weddings are the ones who are victims of getting infected. So why can't we stop all this? Instead of wrecking the economy, instead of encouraging the second wave, we should take action, go back to no more than 20 people, no more than, just for couple of weeks. It's not like going to be a year or so. We just need to break the chain as we did. The lockdown has to be more focal. It doesn't have to be nationwide, but all the socialization that's taking place must be clamped down. And then let's take a deep breath and wait. And maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks later, we can slowly open up again. So unnecessary, non-economic activity, socially based activity. Weddings weddings took place, beautiful weddings took place during the lockdown, where only the family would come and everybody else would join on Zoom. We can go back to that. There's no consequence to it.
Yeah.
But irresponsible behavior, we will pay a very heavy price for it.
Yes, beautiful weddings, less flashy, Dr. Trayan, and quite economical as well.
I'm not being an alarmist.
Yeah, no, I completely get your point. And in fact, politicians are the ones who are leading the bandwagon even now in terms of large events and grand weddings. And of course, I mean, rallies, one can't say much because we've seen what happened in Bihar. Apparently, it didn't affect their, at least numbers on paper. I don't know what happened on ground. But here is the other aspect. And Dr. Mishra, to you first, and then we will bring in Abantika on this as well. What about targeted vaccination or stepped up vaccination? So if we say that we're not yet ready and we're not confident to have 20 crore, 30 crore doses right away, at least in districts, the top 10 districts or the worst hit states where there is a larger vulnerable population, can we not look at that kind of a strategy?
Yeah, like we just discussed, there are multiple ways of looking at it. But if you look it from the disease point of view, the spread point of view, if we target the population which is most not vulnerable but spreading most, they are more like people whose job is to go around, delivery people and so on. So identify those are teachers if schools are opening, and those people who interact more with others, they cannot sit home and they are more likely to spread, even if they are young, they are likely to spread. So I think we can strategize that that people who have we have greater chance of interacting with multiple people, they should be targeted because that is how the virus spreads. Others can stay home. So if we optimize in this way, do some kind of partial lockdown where people can stay home and work with less mobility, and only few people are moving around. And see, frontline workers assume should be vaccinated by now, but I understand maybe one third of them have taken and not the other. So that is the other thing we have to see, that we convince people to take vaccine. It is their social responsibility. They are doing it not only for themselves, but for their friends, their parents, and whoever they come across. So that is very important message to go. Sometimes we feel that nothing will happen to me, but then what about others? So is a multiple thing we have to go. So do convince people in multiple ways, and select a group which is more likely to spread the infection, so that is more effective, because we are trying to block the infection and possible surge which can happen after 2 3 weeks 4 weeks from now. Current one we have to manage differently, which is just not letting people move around without purpose. I mean, there is no reason to have political activities or religious activities, marriage. School is a little bit tricky, but I think we'll have to take a call on that. It's very cruel thing, but in this situation, maybe that also we have to see that we wait for another couple of months. And if the things improve, we do disciplined way, we will be in a better position and we can come back to normal thing. But you were right, we can have selection of people for vaccination in the priority if there is any problem of the dose or infrastructure to those who are likely to spread more than necessarily for comorbidity or other kind of health problem. They can wait, because if they isolate, they will be fine. Others cannot isolate themselves because their job is like that.
Correct. Absolutely. So those who are out there who are more exposed, where the risk is high, perhaps should be the one who need to be on the next list. If we don't want to look at a vaccine for all, at least come up with that kind of a strategy. In fact, Abantika, I also wanted to, bring up this one issue that we've also covered and you've also spoken about, which is the vaccine doses which are already available, some of them with states and due to expire in the coming weeks. Now, we are actually looking at a situation where doses have been manufactured and will be of no use to us by May if we don't step up on their use.
Actually, by April. The first ones, because SII was stockpiling since November, so first doses start expiring from April. So we really need to move fast so that we exhaust those doses. And then, and sort of basically states will then have to, as they send out the vaccine doses, they will have to keep checking the expiries so that we do it in the order the doses move out, in the order that the first two expire moves out first. So I'm not sure if that kind of, that kind of arrangement has been made, because even the Prime Minister mentioned this yesterday, that be very careful of expiries. But Tanvi, if I may just come back to this point you had made earlier about, targeted vaccinations in high burden districts, I want to give some numbers. And these are the numbers that the government of India shared yesterday. Chhattisgarh, Surajpur district, between 1st and 15th March has seen a 425% rise in cases. Nanded has seen 385%. Sirmaur in Himachal Pradesh, 367%. So if this is the kind of, now see, from the very beginning, we have been saying, and if that's the case now also, it is not, the virus is not democratic. It is not affecting the entire country in the same way. There are some districts, some states which are worse hit than others. That being the case, I'm not sure why it makes sense to give out vaccines by vulnerable population rather than by disease burden. Or I think both should be factored in. If you're giving out by vulnerable populations, fine, but also factor in where that district is. If a district has very low numbers, then why are we giving it in the same proportion as, say, any 8 of the top 10 districts in the country are from Maharashtra? why is it that they are being given out in the same proportion? That kind of prioritizing, I think we will need to do.
Yes, absolutely. And you gave some very interesting examples from Chhattisgarh, Himachal, and Maharashtra, of course. At one point, 8 of Maharashtra's districts were in the top 10 list for the entire country. And the most ironical part was that Pune, where these vaccines are actually developed and are being manufactured, is on top of that list. Is one of the worst hit cities in this entire country. But they're obviously not getting as many vaccines as the number of cases that we are looking at right now. So that one aspect has to be factored in. Divya, what have you picked up on any strategies that government has on ensuring that the wastage gets reduced? Even the Prime Minister yesterday addressed that this has now become a big problem.
See, vaccine wastage, we have to understand one thing, vaccine wastage, and this is not just for COVID, but for any vaccines, vaccine wastage is a common thing. So we should not start panicking that we are wasting vaccines, because it's one of the most common aspect of any vaccination, that wastages do happen. However, in our case, as Abantika pointed out, the whole issue of the vaccines getting expired. Now, what needs to happen is that the company, for example, Serum Institute, has to go back to DCGI and ask for an extension of the whole, because most vaccines, when they make it comes with a 6-month sort of a permission. So they have to go back to DCGI and ask them if they can expand or increase that the date, which because most vaccines have got approval under emergency use, the approval is for 6 months, and the expiry also comes with that. So there is a possibility that you can go to the regulator and ask if there is a possible for extension on that expiry date, for example. So that's one way to reduce the vaccine doses which will get wasted perhaps. But again, as most people have been talking about, is that there are a couple of things we are handling right now. We are also dealing with vaccine hesitancy. This is real, especially with the reports coming up in Europe about the adverse events in AstraZeneca, despite WHO saying that the risk, the benefits outweigh the risk and vaccination should continue. You see that people are getting hesitant again. So there is also this whole communication part that needs to be dealt with on removing this vaccine hesitancy. And all the number of cases that we are seeing right now, the increase is because the economic activity has increased. So the government cannot expect on one side that it wants its economic activity running and still not vaccinate those people who are actually driving it. So I think it's very important that in some way we stop shaming people for going out and getting infected. That's something which is very important, where we try and put this in perspective and see that why are the infections coming up? Who are the people who are getting infected? And how do we go about in terms of either vaccinating them or even reducing the number of infections that's happening? So Pune, for example, is an industrial belt.
Yeah.
And you see the industry starting off. And that's the reason. So that's why so many companies want to vaccinate their staff. Give them, for example, if it's an automobile company where people are going back to work, and these are high-risk places because it's close and the risk of infection is higher, get them vaccinated there first. And again, as Abantika pointed out, we have that list. All the essential workers who were listed during the lockdown perhaps should be one of the ones who should be considered for vaccination right now. So I think it's very important that the part 2 of COVID management should be a bit more done through empathy, less shaming, and more pragmatic ideas of how we go about vaccination or even dealing with infections. I mean, yes, we're talking about weddings happening and it's a problem, but we also had cricket matches a couple of months back.
Yes,
right? That went in absolutely well.
A week back.
Couple of weeks back.
Yes, a match in a stadium with people, and they were supposed to have 50% capacity, but I don't know if they realized that all the 50% came and sat together and cheered together, and then forgot about mask and social distancing. Let me very quickly bring in a few viewers before I go back to our experts. Dhananjay is on the phone line calling us from Bengaluru. Good evening, Dhananjay. What would you like to say?
Yeah, namaskara. Just wanted to check in a few things on this vaccination thing. Morning, I was just watching one of your shows where one of the national advisor was referring to the European context and Indian context of vaccination and blood clotting. He was mentioning that the genetic race is different. That is why probably we are not getting the blood clotting cases, and European Union may be getting blood clotting cases. If you look at the mortality rate in India is much lower than any other country, which is being which have high cases of COVID. does it mean to say that we are better equipped, or our bodies have better antibodies than the rest of the world? Are we naturally immune to this kind of an virus spread?
Okay,
And
fair
also-
question, Mr. Dhananjay. I think you're referring to Mr. N.K. Arora, who's on the Technical Advisory Committee in the task force as well, who spoke to us and said that could be one of the reasons. And it's even now for the biggest of the experts, it's still out there in the open about what could be the possibilities that Europe is seeing more of these blood clot instances than we are. But on a larger basis, this question often comes to us. Dr. Tran, would you like to take this question about, are our bodies relatively more immune to such viruses?
So we have speculated on that for a long time. Then the BCG thing came, and then the thing came: the summer will kill the virus, or the winter will come, or the wet season. I don't think that there is any pattern in those things that we can bank upon. The point is, if you can say, what did we do? And I still believe, and although it did cause huge misery and it was very unfortunate, but the immediate lockdown helped to slow things down. We took it very seriously in the very first few months. It is actually not possible to keep the lockdown forever, which is true, so we started opening up. But in spite of that, just spikes took place when social events or religious events took place. So if you saw Diwali saw a spike, then Puja in the East saw a spike, and then Christmas time and New Year's time in Kerala and all that saw a spike. So that these spikes did come and established that whenever there is going to be human interaction without proper care, without observing the appropriate COVID behavior, you are going to have a spike. So now, how do we get our arms around it so that we can stop it from spreading even faster than what it is doing today? So if we go back, rewind to when it started and said, just take those measures short of lockdown. Don't let people, what pictures you are showing, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people have thrown caution to the wind. But that is because we saw the figures coming down. We saw it has come down to even single figures we were talking about. And some Delhi showed 200 cases a day. Then now what's happened? The same areas where we thought there is relief, there is fatigue, there is, you can say all those things are there. But we need to then spread the message that is three-pronged. One is that very clearly the ones we should observe the behavior. Two, wherever we see hotspots, act quick and try to contain them. Three, when you talk about vaccine expansion, we can talk about take just this worker, that worker. It's very difficult to establish who these people are. I think what we should do is, yes, the industry at their own expense has volunteered to actually vaccinate their own labor forces. So they are identified. Going into a crowd, we should move very fast on them.
Yes, and that's what... Yes, go ahead,
Secondly,
please.
we know the areas where crowding happens. And in trains, so people who have to come to work, good suggestions, but they are very complicated things to actually work out. But you say there's a whole burning topic about courts. Now, when the courts are going to open physically, what will happen to the lawyers? What will happen to the judges? What will happen to the people who are either plaintiffs or accused? So thousands and thousands of people will be coming into situations like that. So I think if we do some analysis, till we overcome, I'm not even sure we have shortage, because you're talking about expiry. Why should we let a single dose expire? Just open it up. We have the facilities to inoculate. We have the syringes. We have the manpower to do it. We just need to say, if it is expiring in this period, we are going to open out for everybody so that it is consumed before it expires.
Yes.
Then you can come back to whatever system you want to go back to. But this requires a very dynamic real-time thinking and real-time regulation. We did that actually at the time of the pandemic, where in the thick of it, there was a daily advisory. We kept changing the rules according to the situation. Let us follow the rules, change them.
Dr.
whatever
Trehan,
you have-
you're saying we did that in the pandemic when we were in the thick of it. I'm not too sure how far away, unfortunately, we are away from that situation again. I am looking at the data that's just come in from Mumbai. And Mumbai has registered 2,877 cases in one day. 2,877 cases. This is higher than what we saw as a daily case number even in October during the peak festival time when we were seeing, and that was Mumbai's peak, September, October, if I'm not mistaken. This is higher than that number that we are looking at. Of course, we'll have to look into the positivity rate. We'll have to look into how much more testing we are doing now versus then. But even to say that, that's the number we've gone back to should send the alarm bells ringing, at least for the governments and the administration. Very quickly, one more viewer, Arshad is on the phone line calling from Mumbai. Good evening, Arshad.
Yeah, good evening. I've got two questions. Both of them are directed to either Dr. Trehan or Dr. Mishra. The first question is, can a vaccine trigger off an autoimmune reaction in individuals who suffer from autoimmune disorders? And the second question, which is actually a related question to the first one, is can a vaccine trigger off a cytokine storm in susceptible individuals? Thanks.
Okay. Thank you for calling. Dr. Mishra, would you like to take that up?
The answer to both these questions is yes, but I think Dr. Trehan is more qualified to answer these questions. And in fact, there are proper instructions that people who have autoimmune and some other kinds of any type of immune compromised situation, they should avoid or take in under strict medical supervision. So there are those categories have been already set.
Yes, Dr. Trehan.
Elaborate if there is anything specific to it.
So you see, we have been cautioning people who have either severe allergies or on immune suppression drugs and things like that to say you have to get it done under close supervision and only with having consulted your own physician to say what are the things that you are taking, what medications you are taking, is there a conflict? So after that caution is exercised by the recipient and the doctor who is actually treating the person, because its history is very important in this. So once the doctor gives that certificate, then only they should be vaccinated. I don't think willy-nilly people should walk in for walk-in vaccination, knowing very well that they have all these comorbidities which are out of the realm of the common comorbidities. So if you have diabetes, if you have high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, all these things, of course, hypertension, of course, we know enough people have been vaccinated that there has not been an adverse event. Now, you see, when we talk about countries in Europe, 3.5 crores people have already been vaccinated in India. We have that data very clearly. Most countries don't have, their population is not so much. So what are we going to compare or learn from those countries?
We should, yeah.
We have a different genetic pool. We have different makeup. We have a different immunology. We should actually concentrate on gathering our own data, analyzing it, and putting it in public space real time.
Okay.
It should not be that people should suspect that there are things happening and we are not being told.
Okay.
I think that's an important lesson to learn from the overseas people, that the data is put out in real time. I think if we did that here, people will be much more careful or confident, I would say, not careful, confident of accessing the facilities, and also have that kind of confidence that you need when there is such a big drive and there are unknowns that we need to actually answer them. So enforce. Why cannot be enforced? This is a marketplace you are showing. People and nobody's wearing a mask. Just a few percent are wearing a mask.
You know, the authorities here, Dr. Trehan, have struggled so much with enforcement in whichever way they were trying, that now the officials are telling us that their solution is to move the markets. So split the markets into different places and take them away from these crowded areas and set them somewhere else. Let's wait and watch how it really progresses. I'm completely out of time. Thank you to Divya and Abantika and Dr. Mishra and Dr. Trehan for joining us on this conversation. Viewers, there you go. Look at the numbers coming in even now. The concern is only rising. The alarm bell should now go off. And while we repeatedly remind you to follow the COVID norms, to wear your mask, to follow social distancing, we repeatedly ask the local administration and the state governments to ensure that they penalize those who are violating, to ensure that the curbs that have been brought in are actually implemented. The third leg of our view and our stand here and campaign is to now urge the central government to step up on the vaccination. We're doing about 20 lakh vaccination doses every day. That's a great number from where we were, say, 3 weeks ago. Experts say we can reach even a higher number, up to 50 lakh in the coming weeks. But if we open it up to more categories, to everybody if we have the doses, then imagine how quickly we will be able to protect a large population of our country. We've used over 3.5 crore doses in our country and exported or given via vaccine diplomacy over 5 crore doses of vaccines. Doses is not a problem. It's about now the will to implement the plan. Don't go away. On the other side, I've got an exclusive conversation lined up. Kiran Mazumdar Shah joins me. Stay with me.